You counted every calorie, tried every diet, spent hours in the gym, and still something's missing. You want more than just weight loss. You want your energy back. You want your confidence restored. You want a way of living that doesn't feel like punishment. Welcome to Master Your Metabolism, where we cut through the noise, ditch the fads, and give you a real plan to become the healthiest, strongest version of you. Hosted by our team of expert coaches with proven strategies, science-based tips, and real-life encouragement, not just to help you lose fat, but actually create that lifestyle that you love. You've tried everything. Now, let's try what actually works. This is your turning point. Let's go. Hey there, everybody. Welcome to Master Your Metabolism. I am here today with Crystal Little. She is someone I actually connected with from our mindset coach, Amanda. And we have been chatting and planning for our event. And she is also going to be hosting her own retreat in Colombia. Like when I grow up, that's where my next event is going to be. But when I connected with her, the thing that was so interesting is she is so well-versed in a lot of the things that I work on with the women that I coach, right? A lot of nervous system regulation, understanding how important that is on not just your mental health, but actually your physical health. And there are different modalities that she works with that I wanted to be able to share because there were a lot of things that I was not aware of and not understanding. And I just really always want to bring value and different things to people that they may not have even known existed. So thank you, Crystal, for joining us. She has an amazing story. She is not just into the whole breath work and all of this world, but she is also a chief in Palm Beach County in the fire department. And the way that she has merged and developed her path, given her background and experiences she's had, I thought was fascinating. So I wanted you to start off today, Crystal, if you can share a little bit about your journey. And then I figured we can kind of move and just naturally flow into ways that we can share different modalities that you do and you can share with people. I think that would be cool.
Thank you so much. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah.
Every time I try to tell my story of my journey, I try to condense it, but I speak in tangents. So
Yes. I speak the same language, so that's good.
Yeah, I speak in tangents and I go different directions. So I really try to keep it concise because I feel like I really worked. I didn't know what I was doing when I was doing it. And it wasn't until way later in my journey that I looked back and said, oh man, these things are happening. But I wrote an article for an EMS magazine in 2023 because when I was having a conversation with who's now my boyfriend, but we weren't at the time and we've known each other for 20 years. And we had a casual relationship way back when, and we were just kind of have a conversation at work, obviously way later. And he's like, what are you doing now? And I'm like, well, besides this, I'm like, I work with the nervous system. And it was the first time I had said it. And he was like, what does that even mean? And I started talking about these different things that I do. And the more I talked about my story, I realized what had happened. And in 2019 was kind of my come to Jesus moment. I don't necessarily think that it's the fire department that put me here. It's just, it was a lifestyle I was living. Yes, I was in the fire department, in busy houses, running calls, fight or flights, or your go, go, go. But on top of that, I've always been a competitive athlete. So I was racing bikes at the time and I was competing in CrossFit. And then I got to still have fun. So I would party hard. And it was just years on years and decades on decades of this life that compounded with a very traumatic and unsafe relationship that basically at the end of 2019, I had a gun to my head and I had, divine intervention come in. I was stopped, which great. And then I was like, man, and I had been in and out of therapy trying to find someone to help me work through my stuff because it wasn't just this lifestyle. I had stuff. We all carry stuff from our childhood. And I knew that I had a complicated relationship with my father and this and single mom stuff. And I had all these things. And so we don't get out of childhood unscathed. I don't care how beautiful and perfect it is. You got stuff because your child brain just brings it. It just, you can't escape it, but it's our job as humans to learn it, to understand it, and then evolve with it, and then take the wisdom with you. It's not your story. It doesn't define you. Things happened, and then you learn and you evolve. So I had been on the hunt to find somebody to help me. It just so happened that right at that 2019, 2020 COVID shutdown thing, I found someone after like trying 7 or 8 doctors over the course of 15 years or so, telling the same story didn't work. So she was very helpful, got into some EMDR. We can talk more about that.
Yes.
But also I had this little voice in my head and I didn't listen to music other than in my workouts for years because all that was in my head was podcasts and books and like just trying to evolve and learn. And then I'd hear these podcasts and I would hear about breath work. And I'm like, oh, breath work. I had an idea of breath work in my head of what I wanted, but I didn't know a name for it. And I hadn't really heard of it. I knew it and I didn't know. I was on the hunt for it. So that's out there. Cold plunging and sauna and then mindfulness. I was already doing yoga and 2019 happened to be when I decided to do yoga teacher training because I needed to explore myself. Had nothing to do with the physical practice of learning how to set up a flow. It was all about the internal exploration of self because I was on a mission to fix what was going on in my brain. And fast forward all these years. So little by little, I was introducing different things into my daily life. Float tanks. Oh my gosh, float tanks. Like these things help me just get to it, but I couldn't do that initially. So 2019 happens. I start introducing these things between cold and more mindfulness practice and grounding and breath. And then I find the breath work and these things. And then when I finally felt like I was also very isolated at that time in my life. I was doing it to myself. Like I said, unsafe relationship. I was just isolating from family, friends. I mean, we've heard the story. It's the same. And so I started then doing these things. And when I finally got to a place healthy enough to extricate myself from that and then start to create an actual community around these modalities, that's when I started to bloom. And that's when I looked back behind me and was like, wow.
Look what I did.
And that's what I realized. I was training my nervous system. It had been fried for so long. It took years. There's no silver bullet. And then I've been wearing an Aura ring since I pre-ordered it a year before it came out. So I've had it since the beginning. And I had this epiphany. I'm like, HRV. I learned about heart rate variability. We could talk more about that. And I immediately went to my phone, looked at my app and looked at the trends and was like mind blown because in 2018, 2019, I was in the single digits with my HRV. And in 2023, when I decided to write this article, I was in the triple digits. I was sometimes even in the 200s, which is insanely high.
Insane.
But that's the only data point that we have to determine the resiliency of your nervous system. How regulated are you? Is your heart rate variability? When I learned about that, I quickly went to the data that I'd been tracking for no other reason other than I knew sleep was important for mental health and I was doing everything I could, but I didn't know what HRV was. I went back and my mind was like, because I could see my trend and then and you could see it inch up every time every year I would add something because I didn't learn all these things all at once.
Right.
And now I do these things. Now, when I learn something and it works for me and I do it, I want to learn it and then I want to share it. It's just how I work. This is good for me. It's going to be good for other people. Let me go and share. So that's how I found you.
That's amazing. Amazing. And just for those of you that understand HRV, single digits, not good. And because it impacts your health, right? So you want to be in a certain point and that heart rate variability tells how you are able to be resilient and how resilient your body is. Most people are probably in the 20s, 30s. A good average is what would you say, 50, 60?
Yeah, well, they say there is no range. It's not like your normal heart rate is 60 to 100. That's normal. So it is extremely individualized. So I don't even really like telling the numbers because we get zoned in on that. It's really for you. And as we age, it also changes.
It's going to go down.
Hormonal shifts, everything affects it. So, I mean, when you track yours long enough, then you'll know when you're trending in the right direction. But yes, I would say most people are probably below 50. And if you're between 50 and 100, that's great.
Right.
It means you're really dialed into recovery.
Yeah. And the fact that you were able to go from single digits to triple, just so everybody is aware, that is a significant shift in her health.
Over 4 years.
Over 4 years.
It didn't happen overnight. That was over the course of 4 years.
Right.
But you
think of that 4 years and the ripple effect it will have on the rest of your life. Because it's not something that you'll get started and be able to do that and just say, well, I'm good. I met my goal. It's kind of like you start training in the gym and you start to see that change. You feel stronger. You feel more energy. You love going there. Then it's like you're never going to get back to that point that you're like, meh, I'm good
Yeah.
now. I'm just going to stop. Because once you do and you see it, it's like that's where you'll feel the effects of it.
And there's
You'll,
no coasting, right?
yep,
It's like in any business, any corporation, when you are a status quo, like let's just try not to mess up what we got, you're going backwards.
yep,
And if that was a message I could tell people, like you don't get anywhere, you don't have the climb, and then you're like, all right, we're gonna coast. If you're coasting, you're sliding back.
you're sliding for sure. For
I
sure.
mean, it's just constant. Yeah, I mean, it's discipline. It's the constant drive to always be better and to maintain your habits that got you there, or what's going to keep you there.
Yep. And then building on those habits and saying, well, if
Correct.
I was able to do this, what else can I
What
do?
Let's add one more thing.
Yeah. Yeah. So, modalities, let's shift over to some of those that you mentioned because I find it fascinating. What were some of the first, like you had mentioned, the EMDR? So, for people that don't know what that is, if you can explain what that
Yes.
is, what the application.
So I am not a psychologist. I am getting my degree in psychology because I find it fascinating, but I am by no means a doctor of any of this. But what my doctor did say, because I came in there telling her all of these stories and these things, and she didn't. I had been with doctors before that wanted me to relive some of these awful moments and like talk, and she's like, stop right there. She goes, we don't need to do that, which also made me feel safe because sometimes articulating even your worst behavior is not fun, even though you've come to make amends with it. We don't necessarily want to relive it and then have to verbally say that I did this thing and it was not my best moment.
Yep.
So it's eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. So if you think about REM sleep, well, some of us know, right? When you're in REM sleep, your eyes go back and forth, right? And that's when your brain is we have our lymphatic system in the body that detoxes the body, and we have the glymphatic in the brain. And when we're sleeping during REM sleep, that's when it's all kind of getting like cleaned out in there, the gunk. And then your memories are being filed on the appropriate memory line. And when you have a traumatic event, no matter big T, little t, doesn't matter, your mind kind of goes offline and things get misfiled. They're the wrong things. And that's when you start to, we get triggered. And then you might relive the past or you create these patterns. I would think it's a human thing. We all have patterns. We all have ways we react when we feel a certain way or we feel challenged or whatever it is, and you keep repeating your same patterns and you're like, I need to break out of the cycle. So you hold a memory and you hold either buzzers or lights, and then we recreate REM sleep. So you think of your memory and how you felt, and then it's like a slow buzzer, a slow alternating of a buzzer or a light. And then as you're processing it, I'm a physical processor. Some people see colors, some people think thoughts. I feel like sensation in my body, my elbow, my knee, my ankle, like, and it's weird. It doesn't like travel up. It'll be like knee, shoulder, ankle, back. Like it just moves around and you process it until it becomes less. And then we want to think about how we want to view this memory. If it was a memory of being unsafe, I want to feel safe. Usually it's kind of the opposite. At least that's how it worked for me. And then we would hold that. And there was a process that she would do until I could no longer feel sensation and my body was calm. It's a very mentally exhausting process. It's like a meditation, but I would leave the office feeling so tired. I wouldn't necessarily take a nap. I could have, but usually I'd have to go right back into life. But I did it for years because we had so many memories to do, even though I didn't have a whole lot of them. But that was like the first thing I think I really started doing. I had already been doing yoga, but I was doing yoga for exercise. I wasn't doing it for the mindful breath, movement, body sensation, connection. How you treat yourself on the mat is how you treat yourself. I wasn't none of that yet. I wasn't
Right.
there yet.
Right.
But with the EMDR, that was probably the first understanding I had of my nervous system looking back. Didn't know it in the moment, but looking back, now I know I was training my nervous system there to be in an uncomfortable space, remind myself I'm safe, but be able to shift it. And it took maybe 6 to 8 months before I had a situation come up and I caught myself in the moment of wanting to react in the same way I've always reacted. And I stopped and said, no, not going to do that. and I paused, and then I responded in a completely new way, which the other person didn't know how to act to me. So I was like, and I was so proud of myself. And that's how I knew it was working. Because you don't feel any different. You don't like, there's no aha moment. You're just a little tired afterward and you're like, all right, I hope this works. And you just keep going. Like, I'm one of those people that if you just tell me, I'm like, stick with it. I'm like, okay, I'll stick with it. And it took about 6 or 8 months till I started seeing changes. And, not every session obviously was an EMDR session. Sometimes it was just talk therapy, but it took a few years. And that was my first, to me, it's a game changer. It really helped me like refile these memories and then allowed me to respond. We always say the power is in the pause, the
Hmm.
ability to respond rather than react. And it's kind of contradictory to my job because when I need to make a decision, I need to make a decision like right now. There's no like, let me think about this. Sometimes we have the time, but it was just, it allowed me to touch the other side of the spectrum. I spent my spectrum over here in the red, and it allowed me to go into the yellow, go into the green, and know that it was safe to be there, that I didn't have to react immediately. Telling it, I'm having a realization in this moment, actually, that's probably why I ended up in this job.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
because I've been in my red my whole life, even before the fire service, and so it was comfortable. And now I'm finding more comfort in the yellow and in the green, where I historically haven't spent a whole lot of time.
And sometimes it's just spending that time to make it more familiar. Because I find that a lot of the women that I work with, and myself included, is just you're always in that sense that someone will say, "Are you stressed?" "No, I'm not stressed. Like, everything's fine." I'm like,
This is life. What are you talking about?
yeah,
It's
because
normal.
it's like when you don't have other moments like that, or those moments are so infrequent that it's almost
Becomes the
like
norm.
that feels not right. This is
Hmm.
my norm. So getting people to almost recognize, like, hey, girl, like, this this inability to, like, stop and breathe and do it, like, this is what we need more practice with. So, I love that you said that, and it's very interesting to me because I think a lot of people do expect, like, "Well, I can't do that. I can't meditate. I can't do this. Like, this is just who I am."
Hmm. I've heard that a
So,
thousand times.
yep, and this is just
I
like,
was one of them, by the way.
yeah, and how I was brought up, and this is how my family was, and, it's just not gonna change. But I always, think about it like, well, if you want to stay the same and you want to remain where you are, that's a choice. But if you truly want to do something better and do something different and to improve who or just to become something, a better a
Mhm.
version of yourself that you want to be that you don't feel you are now, then there has to be some type of shift. There has to be something that you recognize in yourself
It's
and
going to be
say,
uncomfortable.
yep. And
Change
it's,
is not comfortable. You have to get comfortable getting uncomfortable. I was the person who I've been doing yoga now like 20 years. And probably for like the first, I don't know, 5, 8, 10 years, I don't even know. I used to leave before the Shavasana, before the meditation, because I didn't have time for that. And what is it, 2 minutes, 3 minutes? Because and really now I'm one of those teachers that I'm like 5, 7, 10 minutes even because they need it.
yep.
I would sneak out because I didn't have time for it. And then one day, I was just so tired from class. It was a power class, and I just didn't have the energy to pack up and like sneak out. I laid there, and that was the day I was like, "Ooh,
Now I see.
oh,
This is
this
pretty
is
nice.
it. I get the yoga high now." Like I had no, and then so now I would never miss it. Now
Yep.
it's just interesting. And when people are like, "Well, I can't meditate," I'm like, "You don't shut your mind off. You just pay attention to something. Your breath, count sheep, count
Yep.
whatever." And then when you find yourself doing your to-do list or what you have to do later or what you could have done better earlier in the day, you're like, "Oh, there I go thinking again." You come back to the breath.
Yes.
That's it. That is meditation. And it's an attention muscle. We are so hyperlinked into everything. Everything is a click and you can't stay on, and we're all
Emails.
guilty of it. You can't
Yep.
stay on subject. We're scrolling, we're this, it's a 30-second loop for the next thing. And meditating is the attention muscle. So when people say, "Oh, I'm ADD," yeah, everybody's ADD. I am too. But
Great study.
when you work the attention muscle and you practice just counting the breath in for 4, out for 8, and then you lose your train of thought and you're somewhere and you're like, "Oh, wait, in for 4, out for 8." And before you know it, you'll go longer and longer before your mind wanders. But
Yep.
that's meditating. That's it.
Yep.
It's, there's no shutting the
Noticing.
mind off. It's going to want to go. You just have to, and when you catch it, you'll catch it sooner and sooner and sooner. And
Right.
that's it. That's it. There's no secret.
Yep. I was in one of the classes and they're like, the thoughts are going to come, but notice the thoughts.
Yeah.
Question the thoughts.
Hmm.
Like, be interested in the thoughts rather than getting hyper focused on the thought itself, which that was something for me. It was like, I can't shut this brain off. Like, it's just not happening. I got 600 tabs, just like this computer right here. There are a lot of
Hmm.
tabs open. And I know we all are. And everyone's like, well, they'll tell me my mom didn't have, any issues with perimenopause or menopause. Look and see what our society is now compared to how it was even 20 years ago.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
the amount of you have to get this done, you have to take care of this, check the emails, make sure you make the appointments, make sure you're, doing all of the things for work. There are so many places and plus social media and all of the things, there's not a chance. I feel like it's working the opposite direction, that it is working that like inattentive muscle.
Uh-huh.
And you have to recognize, because I was trying to set up for myself even, okay, it's 7 o'clock at night. We're powering down. There is no more computer. There is no more screens. There is no more anything. It was the hardest thing for me because there would always be a thought in my head that was like, oh, wait, but I just have to check this. And then I
Yeah.
would
Let
go
me
to
do this
check
one
this.
thing real quick.
Yep. And then it just would spiral up. Oh, you know what? While I'm here, like I might as well do this. And then somebody will send me a message and then I get in a conversation and it just spirals like that. So it is something that I feel I'm not alone in it. I hear a lot of clients
Oh,
like that. And
we're
the
all doing it.
problem is that the central nervous system, I don't think people realize the connection between your central nervous system and your health and how much that dysregulation can impact your physical self
It's
that
not psychological, it is physiological. We are not one mind. We are not like the way the medical system is set up with the cardiologist and the pulmonologist and the endocrinologist and nobody knows what the other one's doing. We are all an entire universe. And your mental health, your nervous system, your physical health, it is all connected. They all influence each other incredibly. You cannot have a, HRV of 4 and think your immune system is strong. Like you're going to be that person that's running themselves into the ground all the time and you're going to get sick all the time. That's just what now, if you are very resilient and you're optimizing everything, when you come into contact with like, I don't worry about sick people. I hardly ever get sick, hardly ever. But I spend a lot of time regulating myself. So where there's other people I know that, man, the moment they hear somebody is sick in another state, they're like, oh man, I'm coming down with something. Like,
it
you
is
know?
it is true. But again, I feel like it takes work. And like you said, it's not an overnight thing. It's really hard and everybody is going to have the challenge because of everything that we're dealing with. And like you said, it
Absolutely.
doesn't even have to be a traumatic childhood. It
No.
is perception that you have of your childhood.
So I always tell this story because this paints a picture, I think, really well. I told you I had a single mom. I have two brothers. So there's a period of time where life is crazy. You've got one in gymnastics, one in football, one in band, one in volleyball, like, and you're dropping one off, you're picking one up, and you don't get to stay and watch any of them. She was on her own. And I was pretty good at gymnastics, but I was the middle time slot. So my mom had maybe 10 minutes, but I just remember I was probably 7, 8 maybe, and I really wanted her to watch me do the floor because that's what I was good at. Was not good at the bars, but I was good at the floor. And I wanted her to watch me, but she couldn't. She had to run because there was more pickups and drop-offs to do. And in that moment, my little 7-year-old brain just didn't feel very important. And I don't have very many core memories. I'm a disassociator. My
Same,
flight is
same.
to go to outer space. So when I did my homework for my EMDR, write down your childhood memories, I had like 15. Like
Yep.
that's all and
Yep.
that was one of them. And it's a very benign thing. And I had to EMDR that because I am important. And my mother, I know this. I even knew it then, but it's just a thing. Your little your perception is like, oh, they're more important. And it was something I had to EMDR, and I was living my life and making myself unimportant in so many realms of life. And it was just a core belief that I had. It's a very benign memory. It doesn't have to be this, crazy abuse. That will run your subconscious.
Yep. Yep. I mean, I tell people like, even though when you were in like the first grade and somebody, like I'm
Yeah.
only 5 feet tall. So I got called short all the time. I got, so you just
Itty
constantly
bitty.
have this version of yourself and you're like,
Yeah.
and it sticks with you. And then you'll always have that in the back of your mind. And people don't realize that their behaviors throughout the rest of their years are all stemming from what happened then without you even realizing. It is just something, like you said, somewhere in the files that was
Yeah.
there. And
It's
you
in
are
our own
just,
stuff.
and that's what you're, being able to move through. So I love that. And EMDR was something that I learned about recently, and I find it fascinating.
It's a game changer.
Yep. Yep. So from there, let's move to another modality that you feel is
So I got into cold plunging. And yeah, I know. And I know there's schools of thought on it that like, especially like I'm in perimenopause and like in menopause, like there's sometimes the cold is too cold. And
mm,
most of these studies have been done on men. I'm aware of all of these things. The way I was taught to cold plunge was by a veteran. She was from the Northeast. And when she got back from Iraq, the only way she was able to kind of feel alive was to go do these like polar plunges there. And she created a bit, and she does body work now, and she created a whole business out of it. And I met her at like a random like workshop at a gym because I go to all the gyms.
yep,
Well, so I met her there and she was telling me about her idea. It was being built. And I was like, oh man. So I was like, this is it. I'd been looking for cold plunging for years. And I had done it a couple times in my tub, but like that's not feasible. Plus, I had no idea what I was doing. I was just in there and I was kind of grin and bearing it. I was like, I was surviving the cold.
that's what I do.
Well, yeah, I survive it. But that my whole life is survival. Our whole lives are survival. That's
Right.
not for me, that is not the purpose. Now there are athletes, yeah, I want to do it for the inflammation, the recovery, because I'm an athlete too. But I'm gonna get that when I do it the other way too. And the other way, the way Danny taught me was when I finally was able to go here, you get in. So we did box breathing, 4 in, hold for 4,
Yep.
exhale for 4, hold for 4. So we would do, and she would kind of get me just kind of dropping into my body, tuning into sensation. And then when you get in the water, it was not like jumping in and like suffering through it. She's like, you're going to get in slow. You're going to get into the base of your neck. So you get the vagus nerve, right? That's going to control your entire parasympathetic nervous system. And then, and still to this day, I have a cold plunge in my bathroom, and I still to this day I hear her voice saying, "You are safe. This is what cold feels like. All you have to do is breathe." And it was all I had to do was work on the exhale. Now, could I have done that on my own? Pfft, no way. Not I can now, but it's still not the same as having like a guide. But she taught me that getting in the cold and stressing your body, but reminding yourself that you are safe. It's just cold. It gave me another level of resilience. And where I really noticed the difference was when I got promoted to my last rank. I not very long after I was promoted, had a 2-alarm church fire. And I was the one in charge of it. The chief was still 20 minutes away. I was the one in charge of it. We have an EMS captain, which is a command officer, but I hadn't run one of those yet. And I remember feeling like, what is it? The analogy of the duck, right? Going crazy underwater, but like
Right.
cool on top.
Yep.
And I
Yep.
felt like, because inside I was like, I hope and I was making decisions on the fly, putting people on roofs, having all these guys go in. There was a lot happening. And I can't tell you how many of the guys came up to me and said, man, you were so smooth. You were cool. And I was thinking in my head, like, cause I felt like I was going nuts, but the ability to remain calm under stress, because your body doesn't know if it's physical, mental, emotional. Stress is stress.
Yep.
It's stress.
Response is the same.
The physiological response is the same. Heart rate elevated, like all these things are still happening. But when you can train your body to remain calm, so the cold is just a stressor, and I work the ability to downregulate my system under stress. So that's just another tool for me when life gets hectic, because it will.
Yep.
It's just another thing. So, and where I really noticed it was a couple years ago. I had a very busy like December, and I stayed with my boyfriend, not really making time for myself. I was teaching yoga, not practicing yoga. I wasn't in my tub, and I started the the little menace in my brain, my little anxiety voice telling me that, just all the terrible things, all the wonderful things in my life were not real. I was going to lose. Like, I have this little menace that goes off every once in a while. And when I went to my therapist, she's like, well, what's different? And I'm like telling her, she's like, have you been in your tub? And I said, no, I haven't had time. We were vacation for a long time and we this and it's holidays and, just life. And she's like, maybe you should get back in it. And when I got back in it, it was like the first time all over again. Like,
Yeah. Yep.
can't breathe.
Yep.
And for the first and it took me about 3 days to get regulated again, but it's about the day 4, my mind. And so for me, not only is it another ability to remind myself to that I am safe, even under stress, I can manage this. All I have to do is breathe. It also helps quiet that anxious part of my mind. It is, and when I'm away from it too long, I can feel the anxiety leave my body in the water, and it just keeps my mind quiet. It is for me. So how cold is too cold and how long is too long and all of these things. I do 2 to 3 minutes. And for me, I do it for my anxiety. I do it because as I got older, I got a little bit more anxious, and it
Yeah.
helps me just
How
keep
cold
it
is your water?
39 degrees.
My goodness gracious.
But that's why I only do 2 or 3 minutes, because I did kind of like I call her my inner bitch, right? Like, I was like, well, maybe it is too cold because it's still hard. I don't care if I do this. I've been doing it every day for 4 years or mostly, right? I was like, oh, maybe it is too cold because I'm listening to all the voices out there. And so I raised the temperature, but I didn't get that same, and I raised it to like 47. And I was like, maybe, but it just wasn't the same. So I knocked it back down. In 2 minutes is all it takes for me. As soon as my breath begins to calm, I do another minute and then I'm good. So 2 to 3 minutes is all it takes. And I don't need to sit in there longer because the temperature's higher to get
Right.
that same,
Right. Right.
reaction. But yeah.
So funny story is I had a friend that took me recently. There was a facility, a Degree Wellness over here in Wellington. And she's like, come do cold plunge. I'm like, okay, I have one here. We keep it at like 55, which apparently is like a hot tub. So I was able to do that for like 7 minutes. So I went there and I'm looking at the number. I'm like, is that really 47? And my love, like literally, I was in survival mode. Like a minute, and I
Mhm.
started like losing feeling in my feet and my
Mhm.
hands. And I said, no, because I'm not going to be able to climb up out of this tub and I may not make it. So, I would be interested to see how to like guide people through that, because I was in survival mode. Like I did the thing of getting up to here. I was in that 47 and I was like, no, I can't
You
feel my
can
feet.
do it. So when everyone started learning, because I'm actually a Morozko certified cold water guide, like I took a whole course on it,
Yeah.
because it really is like there's different ways to do it. But for me, it is about connecting breath, body, mindfulness, down regulation of the nervous system. So I do some sound bowls but it's all about coaching the breathing, dropping in and then like tuning into what you feel like. When I was doing my rounds to my different stations to go see my different crews, I showed up at one station. This happens to be a very busy station. There's 9 guys there, 3 trucks. They're all doing cold plunging, right there. And one of them lasted 13 seconds and he got out and I said, no. I said, he goes, no, I can't do it. I said, trust me. And I've got all these clowns behind me. And I said, just right here, watch me, you're eye to eye. And I'm like, you're going to breathe with me. And I got him to 4 minutes. And not that he needed 4 minutes. Honestly, I was like, we're just going to do 2 minutes. You could do anything for 2 minutes. You are a firefighter. You do these crazy things. Like, you can do this. But he just needed someone. And he was like, I can't believe it. I was like, are you good? He's like, we'll do another minute. Okay. Like we were 30 seconds.
Right. Right.
But it was just being able to breathe. All he needed was, because he was in there like so tense. I said, no. And, I'm like, touch his shoulders. I'm like, see if you can relax your shoulders. Breathe, exhale. We're just breathing. That's all we're doing is breathing. And I got him to, a place where he could actually relax. And I don't know if he's ever done it again. It was not his thing, but he did overcome that initial survival, which it was so powerful for me to be a part of, because if someone's like, you can do this. Like, I know it's hard. Like, this is a hard thing. I want to do a hard thing every day. Something I don't want to do. Like, I have Bulgarians. I do not ever want to do them
Ever.
ever. There's no nice way to do it, but I do them. And every time I do them, I'll be like, I'll do 10 and all right, I'll do 12, like, cause I gotta do the hard thing because I do hard things.
That's
That
what
is
makes you grow.
it's an identity for me. I do hard things, and I never want to be someone who gives up on herself because I got too comfortable. Because what happens when you get too comfortable and you coast?
Slide
You go
back.
back.
Yep. Yep. It's true. It's true. But it is. But I definitely think, like everything else, it is a safety thing. When you have somebody there, just like if I'm training with someone, I'm going to be able to go harder, do more
Ah,
because somebody is there to go, come on, girl, you got this.
yeah.
That I
You're
won't be
safe.
able to do myself.
Yeah. I'm right here with you. Like, you're safe. I'm not going to let anything happen to you. Right? It's like having a spot. You're going to go
Yep.
heavier on your squat because
Correct.
you've got that person there. When someone's there, like, hey, breathe with me. Well, just, you are safe. It's just cold. It's
Yep.
just cold.
And I'll pull you out
So,
of the water when all your
yeah.
body parts go numb.
So that was very powerful, man. And like, I see these modalities coming to life in other areas of my life. Like I said, like running that fire, I just remember coming back and being like, wow, I can't believe I was so cool on the surface. Meanwhile, like, yeah, there's still stress. This is not this is my first time doing this, but I was like, man, I was able to keep it together. All I
And
had to
then
do
it
was
builds that
breathe and think,
confidence.
and it gave me like, this was a hard thing, but guess what? I do hard things. I do hard things every
Right.
day.
And now you have evidence. It's almost that thing that this was really hard. I didn't think I could do it, and I did it. Cool.
Mhm.
So the next thing that will come up, well, I can't. Well, I didn't think I could do that either. And
Mhm.
now, look, I already have evidence that I can do hard things and the things that I don't. And what's the worst that can happen? I mean,
Yeah.
besides my feet falling asleep and not being able to get
Yeah.
out of the tub.
Well,
But
sometimes I will say I cheat. I sometimes will bring my hands and toes out because, like, I need to be able to use them. So I do, like, I'll bring my toes out, my hands out so I can still use them.
yes, yes. All right, cool. Next one.
So
Next
I would
favorite.
I would have to say probably breath work. I definitely want to talk about a float tank. So I don't know what we're looking at on
Yep.
time here, but
Yep.
so breath work. I knew for me, I was holding a lot of stuff that I had never been able to express, right? We've all been told it's not appropriate and this goes for even joy. And people think like when I talk about somatic release, yeah, maybe there's anger that, especially as women, right, we've swallowed because for whatever reason we couldn't express it or we would be crazy. But for anger was always a tough one for me. I can go to tears because a lot of times the anger is the surface level to the sadness or the pain or the hurt or whatever else we're dealing with. But I knew, right, if you've ever heard of the book, The Body Keeps the Score,
Yep.
the body keeps the score. And
Yep.
you are storing your unexpressed energy, emotion, right? Just energy and motion. You're storing that in your body somewhere. So I knew I was looking for that somatic release. And there's like Wim Hof and holotropic and all these things. But what they don't, they get you up and then they kind of like, then you're just like left hanging there. And so what I was looking for was something that would take me there, but then make me safe again, kind of
Yes.
bring me back whole. And
Yes.
I had no idea what this was called. I just was looking for it. I'm like, oh, so I would try these different things and most of them were weird, not what I was looking for. I couldn't get myself emotionally to where I knew I needed to go. Like I intuitively knew that. So when I finally found a friend of mine who had done this, she was practicing. So I was like, oh, I gotta go do this. And the first time I knew what I wanted, but I still couldn't get there. But once I had experienced it once, I was able to go. And what's so important is that you give yourself permission to express, whether it's sobbing, whether it's yelling, whether it's movement. I see people do back bends and roll, and I'm a mover and a shaker myself. And then joy. They're like, I mean, how many times have you wanted to laugh at something that was completely inappropriate and you held it in? And then eventually it like kind of goes away, but that's still there. Like where have you not allowed yourself to feel joy? Where have you not allowed yourself to be your fullest expression? So through coaching and prompts, right, we want to also get into the subconscious. So the breath is the only thing that we can really control to activate our nervous system. The nervous system's autonomic, but
Yep.
the breath we can control. So
Right.
when we can activate mouth breathing, the first thing I start to feel are my ears get hot. I know they get red, and then I start my shoulders, and I want to move around because I'm starting to activate my body, and the stored energy is becoming active. So we go through that. And then the second half of it is repatterning. It's closing up the cycle. It's now rebuilding who you want to be, what your purpose is. Like you clear out all the gunk you've been holding, and now you can it's more meditative. It's more nasal breathing, exhaling. It's definitely calmer, and it brings you back to a safe place in your body. You feel lighter. Whatever you get, you get. Some people don't have even like a physical expression, but it's a very trippy experience. We do periodic breath holds, and it's a very trippy experience. You have like your higher self. You might get downloads or whatever people want to call it, but you have like these insights into like how silly we are as humans, truly, right? The things that we hold on to, that it's like, man,
Was that even
you're
worth it?
wasn't like, why am I carrying this around? It's not
Right.
mine. Like,
Right.
this, we turned asunder, give it back.
Yep.
Like, we're carrying these things. So I found that, and that was huge. So I literally did one session and flew to Phoenix to get certified, because I was like, this is it. I need to share it. And so then I do workshops, I haven't done any in Palm Beach, have I? Oh, I've done some in Delray, but usually in Coconut Creek, Davie, Coral Springs areas. I do workshops, and it's funny, people love it. And I'm like, you're never going to get out of this without having the stuff. And as long as you're living, you're going to incur more, because it's just the culture we live in. And unless you're going to create the space for yourself to like cry, I definitely cry a whole lot more now in my own private time than I ever did before. And I don't think it's a bad thing. I mean, it's like those ASPCA commercials. Those will get me every time. And whether it's the animals or it's just triggering something in me, the energy is there to be expressed. So I
Yep.
let it go. If it's a
Yep.
song, I let it go.
Yep.
But that's been really pivotal for me. And it's been really helpful for other people, because that's when they realize how much they're holding or how much they're carrying around with them every day, that they are allowed to let go. Like, doing something like that prevents you from losing your shit, excuse my language, on
Yep.
somebody,
Yep.
because your cup, how full is your cup? It's
Yep.
time to empty it,
Yep.
because it's going to get full again.
It's almost like that balloon. Like if you keep going, it's gonna keep expanding, but eventually,
It's going to pop.
it's gonna pop. And you have to look at what would be, when it does, what is that gonna impact? Whereas if you learned how to let some of the air out, how to,
Yeah, of
allow it to expand, because it will continue to expand, but as
course.
long as you understand how to release, it never gets to that point that it will explode. And you almost can recognize, and I had done breath work with someone. It was the whole reason actually that started our retreat and how we got connected, all of the things. It was just these thoughts and recognizing these thoughts and then recognizing the feelings and being really aware of what is going on. But it does allow you to kind of have a little bit more control and know when things are getting like, "Oh, it's happening. Now I got to learn how to let this go a little bit," and
Yeah.
why I am crying at the ASPCA commercials. Like, mine's always the ones with the kids. It's like, oh my gosh, like I
Yeah.
can't.
Oh, I know those two.
So
All of them. But it's like, and it's the fear of feeling too. People
yes.
have a fear, and I will also say, on this journey, initially, and I didn't think about it, because I had a very narrow range of emotions, because I had kind of walled myself off from anything else. Now I have a very wide range of emotions, because I'm allowing myself to feel them. But I mean, it didn't just all of a sudden expand. It
Mm-mm.
was, little bit by little bit, unlocking certain memories. I have more memories now after EMDR than I ever had before. And it's exciting, because they're positive too. And now I have more emotion, I have more feeling, more depth, or more range. And it's more I feel like I'm more human. And not that I mean, I'm not human. Like, I felt like an alien at Tyra Tune, but I definitely feel more human, and I have an ability to connect more, because I feel more.
Yep. Yep. And feelings aren't bad. I think a lot of times, like you said, it's just they're labeled as bad or like, oh, she's weak and things like that, and not feeling those feelings. But it's all part of it, because when you feel the feelings and recognize that it's okay and you are safe, that's what allows you to feel more, be more, and experience more and be present more and
And
have a
connect
life.
more. Because I use these skills with these guys at work when they're struggling with things. Before I was a chief, my chief, he would always be like, "Man, these guys spill their guts to you," and I'm like, "They do," and I go, "But I respect their privacy, and I also just have real compassion for them." I really can just listen, and I put myself with them. I want them to feel seen and heard and understood, but I couldn't be this version of me without this craziness I had to go through. Like 10 years
Correct.
ago, there's absolutely no way I'd have been like, suck it up, dude. Like,
Yep. Yep.
what do you think this is?
Yep. But,
You
and
know
then
what I
it's
mean?
the
Like,
same
keep on
thing.
trucking, rub
Yeah.
some dirt on it, and walk it off.
Yeah. But you think of the environment too, because
Yeah,
normally without you there, they wouldn't have had that outlet, especially probably more
correct.
for guys to be able to really let go of their feelings. Because there is some restriction with women, like that are mostly other people that are like, come on, like she's so emotional. But guys, like
Yeah,
that's probably another area, and a group full of guys and the fire station, that's what, they all are kind of like that, like suck it up. So it definitely is having that outlet and having someone that they can feel safe with, feeling, that can walk them through it is going to make them a better person and probably better with the person
yeah.
they're involved with and anyone around them.
I think too in this process, we've talked a little bit about inner child, like we were talking about yoga wheel and having the ability to play. And when you're so serious because you're wound so tight because you have all the to-do lists and you're so adult, like I don't want to be an adult. No, I didn't sign up for this. Like I want to go play. I want to be a kid. I want to experience that. And in this journey, kind of clearing out the cobwebs, the gunk, doing the breath work, doing more mindful movement, whether it's in the gym or on a yoga mat, doing the cold, like I've also gotten way more in touch with like the fun little girl inside that just wants to play and touch things. My boyfriend's always saying, he's like, you're such a child. Like we go out places and I want to touch. And I would like a kid, obviously I know how to stay in my lane, but I'm way more childlike than I ever was. I've always been silly, but I now really connect to that. Like I can lay out on my grass and watch the clouds and find the cartoon shape. Like I
Yep.
can do where
Yep.
like it had been years since
Yeah.
I had done something like that. And now my imagination it's like unlocked and I can have these wild like imagery in my head. It's imagination that like you lose as an adult. And I was so grateful when that came back and I didn't even know I was missing it.
Yeah. Well, it is. And I talk to women all the time. It's like, think about like, because when I tell them to do something they enjoy and go, I don't know. But a lot of times because they have become from, they were in their college years, then they become a mom, or they become
Hmm.
married, they become a partner. Like they're no longer just them.
Them. Yeah.
And when you get to that point, you almost lose your identity of what do
Mhm.
I enjoy? Especially I find it more with, the moms. Like I know myself, like there were so many years that I focused on everybody else and what they needed and what they wanted that I didn't think of myself and what made me happy and what I wanted to do. So when I sat back and I was thinking about it because my nervous system was completely wrecked, it was, what was it? I'm like, those word finds. And it
Yeah.
was like the craziest thing. Like I remember like being in like elementary school and I
Yeah,
just
the
love
word search.
those
I love
word
those.
searching. And I'm like, when I did it, it is so calming, relaxing. And I think about what were the things I like doing. And when you get back to that, it's like, it's been so long since I like didn't have any responsibility that I could just play and like have fun and like do the things.
When
It's
I invited a friend over a couple years ago, I was like, "Hey, do you want to come over and color with me?" She's like, "Color?" And I go, "Yeah, I have a mandala coloring book." I go, "You want to come over and color?" And she was like, "I think I do." She came over and we colored, and it
yeah,
was like our 8-year-old selves
yeah.
colored, and we
Amanda
were just
probably
sitting
saw
there
that.
talking and giggling, but
Yep,
coloring.
yep.
And she was like, "What a weird request. I think I like this." And I was like, "Yeah, come over
A
and color."
funny story. So my son is in his 20s. So my husband and I had gone out. He had friends over and we went out for the night and came back and my word finds were sitting on the table. There were, because I have like 3 books
Mhm.
with pens that they were doing my word finds. I'm like, "Oh my gosh, that's hilarious." I'm like, but it's so funny. It's like, were you guys sitting around like 20-year-olds? You expect them to be like sitting around
Yeah,
drinking, doing their thing. Nope, they were sitting around doing my word finds. And
it's so funny. With the guys at work, when we find like a silly little game and we get dialed in, we are
yeah,
like, we're playing this game. So everyone has that inner child. You just need the safe place to let it be expressed.
yes,
And to know that it's okay. Like you don't have like play a game. Like
yep.
it's not that
It's okay.
serious.
Yeah.
No one gets out alive. Have fun.
Yeah, yeah. No, I love it. And, I love that we're sharing all these modalities and just for people to understand the application and, why it is so important to
And
kind
it
of
doesn't
have.
have to be complicated.
Yep,
A
yep,
word mind, a
yep,
coloring book,
yep,
and that is down regulating your system. That is allowing you to just be and do something that you enjoy. And it is so simple. It doesn't have to be expensive. It doesn't
Yep.
have to be any of those.
Yep. Yep. And it's a start. I tell people that, sometimes I have them start because they're so wound up. I just want you to take like 3 times during the day that I just want you to notice where you're holding tension. Just pay attention to your body.
Mhm.
Just start and like, where's your jaw? Where's your tongue
Yep.
stuck up on the roof of your
Yep.
mouth or your shoulders up to your ears? Like, just notice it and then just release it. And it's like almost that start. And when they start noticing how wound they are, then it's almost like that's the door to say, okay, maybe I do. Maybe
Love it.
I don't have those moments. So, when they're so locked into that just
Mhm.
dysregulation. So we talked about the EMDR, we talked about the cold plunge, we talked about
Breath
yoga,
work.
we talked about breath work. Give me one
So,
more that we'll go
all right.
into.
So the float tank. So remember how I said I used to leave yoga before the Shavasana?
Yes.
And so even still, so I was hearing about float tanks on my podcast. Because remember, at this point in my life, I'm not listening to music other than in the gym.
Yes.
And I'm like hearing about these float tanks. So I'm like, all right, hell is a float tank? So I start Googling, so I'm like, there's no float tanks anywhere. Eventually they started popping up. So if you're unfamiliar, a float tank is like a pod. It's like a big white pod. It's got about 13 inches, 10 or 13 inches of water with 1,000 pounds of Epsom salts in it. It could float a bowling ball. So it is very buoyant. Think like Dead Sea, but not nearly, if you haven't been in
Right.
it, it's not nearly as powerful.
Right.
But so you go in there nude. So basically they have a shower in there. So it's, hygienic. But when I go to the thing first, I was like, all right, I'm here to float. And he was like, all right, how long do you want to go? And I go, I've never done this before. How long should I go? He goes, 90 minutes. I go, 90 minutes. I go, I can't sit still for a night. I go, there's no way. And he goes, listen, and then he goes, I'm just telling you, it's going to take you 45 minutes to settle down. And I was like, all right, well, you're the expert, dude. So he gives me a little tour. You go in there, you rinse off. You go in completely nude because the water is like the temperature of the surface of your skin, like 88 degrees or something like that. So when you finally get still in the water, you cannot tell. It's like you're being suspended in space. You can't tell where your body ends and the water begins. So you are literally just like your mind. Like your body is gone. Like because you can't tell where you are. There's no gravity. There's no temperature differential. You are just there floating. And they have some with music. I chose no music. Anyway, so you're
You
laying in
choose a
there.
podcast.
And when you fall asleep at night and it feels like you're falling and like you hit the
Yes.
bed or with those
Yes.
muscle. So he was not lying for like and I have no concept of time, but I'm assuming for like the first half of this session, my body was jerking. Like I had my arm, my leg. It was like the tension or the electricity or the energy, whatever it is I'm holding, like my body is trying to relax, but I had to go through this whole process. So I'm in there and I'm like, all right, well, I'm meditating. So I'm counting my breaths and then my mind wanders. I'm back to the breath and then I'm in it. So at some point, I don't know if I was just in a very deep like meditation. So side note, your body, everybody's mind processes 11 million bits of information per second. Per second. So we can't even comprehend what our mind is aware of right now. I mean, it's all the realities, but like of all the things going on around you, and we're only taking in like probably 1% of it, of all these things. So even when you're sleeping, your mind is processing because
Right.
you're aware of your surroundings on some level. So the sensory deprivation tank, right? We're taking away sensation of the skin and the water. There's no light, there's no sound. You've got your earplugs in. So it is just nothingness. When you open your eyes, it's still black. So it is a sensory deprivation tank. But when I tell you, you come out of this and so I would start to I played games with myself, counting my breath. I would say you start to see kind of things in your mind's eye. And when you leave there, oh my God, are you high? You were just, it is the most relaxing. Now it is challenging. So I got to a point where 75 minutes was my sweet spot because my body knew when I got into this water, it took me about 10 minutes to settle in. And then I would naturally start to move and kind of wiggle around about the 75-minute mark and I would get out. So that was my sweet spot. But what a reset for your mind, for your body, for your nervous system, because there's nothing for it to process.
Yep. No
Nothing.
phone, no
No, nothing.
emails, no nothing.
And yeah. And if you stay the whole time, they start you with like light music but it was that was definitely a next level game changer for me, was a float tank. I was so sad because the one that's close to me shut down. The next closest one is in Delray, so I haven't been to a float tank in a while. But it was definitely, I was going once or twice a month there for a while because it was so helpful for me in down regulating my system because I was wound so tight. But now I do those little check-ins and I can release the tension. It is definitely not the same as meditating on a mat, seated, laying down, I don't care what. Being suspended on that water with no light, no sound, no nothing, there are just like no words to experience it. Plus all the magnesium from the salt, like your muscles are relaxed. I
Yeah.
always do it in the evening because my sleep was
Amazing.
the
Yeah.
best.
Would
So
you suggest that for someone that has like thinking of anyone? Like, is that something for like someone that's super wound up? Or are you thinking that somebody would need to have a little bit of ability to regulate before going in and being able to like make it that length of time?
That's a tough question because by the time I found it, I had been doing a lot of these
Right.
practices. So
Right.
I think and I still was like 90 minutes. Are you crazy? And then I was like, that dude was right. And so I wanted to stick with the 90 minutes. It's just over time, my body was like, it was 75 minutes was what my body wanted. So that's what I
Right.
did.
Right.
I would tell you maybe how bad do you want it, right? If you're really, but like if you're gonna muscle through it and just like lay there and like think the whole time and be tense, then maybe not. But so I don't know.
Yeah.
And I would tell everyone the same thing that guy told me, 90 minutes. Like because it's gonna take you that long. And sometimes I would fall asleep in there, I think. I mean, I was something. And maybe that's it. Maybe you just need like that real
Rest.
rest because even if you don't fall truly asleep, your mind is resting because there's nothing other than your internal, thought dialogue. There's
Yeah.
nothing it's processing. So part of me wants to say somebody who has the ability to kind of drop in, but everybody's different. Some people that are just like that they're like, I'm gonna do this, and maybe they will. And maybe that's where they start. I just think it's intimidating for a lot of people because they're like, I can't sit. So like
Do 90
I
minutes.
I I don't have that kinda time, and I'm like, "Listen, I didn't have that kinda time either, but I know it was necessary," you
I
know?
almost feel like if you feel like you don't have the time is probably
You
the
need
one
it.
who needs the
You
time.
need it more,
Yeah.
100%.
You would be the one.
If you've never done it, you gotta do it.
Yeah. Maybe we'll have to come meet up in
Yeah.
Delray.
Yeah, I mean, there's some in Palm Beach Gardens too. I know that there's a couple of them, but, it's Floatate, float with the number 8, but they're by the Atha Yogashala in East Delray. So, it's over in that area, but, I mean,
Sounds
you want
amazing. Sounds
yeah.
amazing.
It really is, like, it's until you experience it, that sensory deprivation, and, like, then and, like, you have, like, insights, right? Because everything else is quiet, and you're coming out like, I tell people, "Bring a journal with you just in case you have some ideas of I don't
Yeah.
know."
Yeah, because you think it's just uninterrupted, just thoughts. I feel
Even if
like
you
that
don't sleep,
could
right? It's rest. It's and
Yep,
imagine what mind blocks do you have? What are you not even aware of because of the chatter?
yep.
When you take away the chatter, what's there? Like, you don't even know.
Because that's with breath work. When you have guided breath work, like for me, that's where all of the ideas came, all of the things, because you have someone
Mhm.
guiding you through it and telling you and moving you through it. And the thoughts come, the
Yes.
thoughts just happen. So we had done that during breath work, and I had a pen and paper, and it was just like, oh my gosh, I want this. I want to have this. I want to, this is how I'm going to
Mhm.
do it. And it was like, I would get done with those sessions, and my journals were like pages and pages. And I'm like, I don't even know where that came from, but
Yeah.
that's
It's
sounds
so
pretty
cool.
good.
It's
So
so cool.
I love it. I love it. So thank you so much. This was, I feel, such great information.
I love sharing this stuff. Thank you so much for having me. I
Yeah.
love talking about it. It's so fun.
Yeah. And so for those of you, Labor Day weekend, Crystal will be hosting a retreat in Colombia.
Mhm.
So did you want to share a little bit about that so people kind of know what it would entail and what?
So it's more of a cultural retreat. We will be doing some yoga, morning and afternoon options, but we're doing coffee tours. We're making chocolate. It's in the coffee region. We're going to make our own cacao butters. There's hot springs locally, natural from the ground hot springs and city tours. So it's like a cultural experience for Colombia, but we will incorporate some movement, not so much any breath work unless if the group decides they want it, we have a space for it. It's just something that we're not focusing on that, but more of like let's downregulate, let's connect, let's do things that are enjoyable. We have a beautiful property, infinity pool, beautiful like farm to table foods, fresh juices, delicious. So it should be a really nice time. Just quick 5-day getaway, and just have it all done for you. Like no stress of planning, nothing. Everything is done.
Yep. Amazing. So that's going to be Labor Day weekend. And then Crystal is going to be a guest in our retreat in October, which I'm super excited about. And she is going to be sharing and doing some of her different types of techniques, which I love and I'm so excited about. So thank you so much for being here. I really, really appreciate it. And for those of you that want more information, I am going to be putting all of Crystal's information into the show notes so you guys can learn more if you are interested in the retreat or just kind of seeing some of the modalities that she leads and can be a part of. So thank you. And if you wouldn't mind sharing a review, and until next time, we'll see you guys later. Thanks for tuning in to Master Your Metabolism. If you found value in today's episode, it would mean the world to us if you'd hit subscribe and share this episode with someone who could use a little guidance in their health journey. Ready to take the next step? Head over to www.mastersfitnesscoaching.com and you can book a free call right from the site so we can chat about your goals and how we can help support you. Don't forget to join our Facebook group where we're sharing coaching tips, support, and tricks to help keep you on track and continue making progress. You don't have to do this alone. We're here to walk with you every step of the way. Until next time, stay consistent, stay kind to yourself, and keep mastering your metabolism. Let's do this together.